Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. Russia and Ukraine trade allegations of civilian attacks on New Year's Day. Moscow gives proof of alleged Ukrainian strike on Putin's residence to the US. CIA debunks the Russian claim. India's first bullet train to be launched on August 15th, 2027 between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, announces Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. And Swiss president turns New Year's Eve fire at a ski resort among the country's worst tragedies, where at least 40 people have been killed and over 100 injured. Flags to fly at half-mast for 5 days. First updates from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia said on Thursday it had extracted and decoded a file from a Ukrainian drone downed earlier this week that it said showed it had been targeting a Russian presidential residence and that has handed over the relevant information to the United States. Moscow accused Kyiv on Monday of trying to strike a residence of President Vladimir Putin in Russia's northern Novgorod region with 91 long-range attack drones. It said Russia would review its negotiating position in ongoing talks with the US on ending the Ukraine war. Ukraine and Western countries have disputed Russia's account of the alleged attempted strike, while US President Donald Trump initially appeared sympathetic to Russia's allegation, but later he expressed doubts. Ukraine dismissed the accusation as disinformation aimed at straining ties with the US. Ukraine has denied carrying out such an attack and described the accusation as part of a Russian disinformation campaign meant to drive a wedge between Kyiv and Washington after a weekend meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas also accused Russia of pushing unfounded claims, branding the allegation a deliberate distraction from peace efforts.
I've invited you here for an important matter. We'd like to inform you that we found the wreckage of the drones that carried out this attack. The navigation systems of some of these drones are well preserved and technically functional. A decryption of the memory contents of the navigation controllers of these drones, performed by specialists from Russian intelligence agencies, has irrefutably confirmed that the target of the attack was the complex of buildings housing the Russian president's residence in the Novgorod region.
Further, Moscow and Kyiv accused each other of targeting civilians over the New Year, with the Kremlin reporting a deadly strike on a hotel in territory it occupies in southern Ukraine, while Kyiv said that there had been another broad attack on its power supplies. The report coincided with intensive talks overseen by the US President Donald Trump aimed at bringing an end to the ongoing conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that energy infrastructure in 7 regions across Ukraine had been targeted, while Russia accused Ukraine of killing at least 24 people, including a child, in a drone strike on a hotel and cafe where civilians were seeing in the New Year in a Russia-controlled part of the Kherson region in southern Ukraine. Zelensky said that Russia's holiday season attacks showed Ukraine could not afford delays in air defense supplies. DD India's Amritpal Singh joins us live for some analysis on the conflict. Hi, Amrit. How far does Putin's claim of an attack and the subsequent US assessment that it wasn't true jeopardize the ongoing peace talks?
Well, the ongoing Peace talks for Donald Trump or the Americans are trying to do is get both sides to narrow their differences and agree on some common ground so that the war or the conflict could be brought to a halt. But with these claims and counterclaims, what happens is there surely is no meeting of minds between the two sides, the Ukrainian side and the Russian. Even while these talks were going on, we saw statements coming out of Kremlin saying, they have not, they are moving away from the agreed draft that was agreed between President Putin and President Trump when they met in Alaska. The Ukrainians are talking something else. So clearly now these accusations, whether true or not, do throw a spanner in the works. So clearly it's very clear that both sides right now do not see eye to eye. So with these claims and also threats by the Russians saying that if the Ukrainians want to attack the president and want to assassinate him, so this clearly shows that they are not serious about peace, and Moscow will respond accordingly. So this surely throws a spanner in the works and makes the meeting of minds that much more difficult, Tanvi.
And Amrit, also tell us, how will these allegations, whether true or not, impact Ukraine's relationship with Washington?
Well, Ukraine's relationship with Washington is a very transactional relationship. It is unlike what the Europeans have with Ukraine, because basically if Russia does get to keep land of Ukraine, then it's Russia at the door. Therefore, you see the Europeans standing staunchly behind the Ukrainians, whereas Donald Trump is using a very transactional approach. He wants to stop the war, take credit for it. He understands that the disruption of the global supply chains because of the ongoing conflict, this prolonged ongoing conflict is affecting world economy. So he has all these concerns, but he doesn't really care much because he's trans-Atlantic. So therefore, he is, he has a very transactional relationship with Ukraine as of now. You've seen the spat, that famous spat between him and President Zelensky at the White House, then the cozying up, then he cozying up to Putin, Putin traveling to the United States. So he's trying to see what he can get best out of it. But so I think the relationship between America and Ukraine will go on. It looks good at the moment, but it will also, President Trump is a hard negotiator. He will still not, he would still want to see that if he can push Ukraine to agree to what Russia wants, or at least a part of what Russia wants, he would put his weight behind that. Tanvi?
Okay, entire 2025 has been, gone and wired in these negotiations. Let's hope peace prevails in this year, in this nearly 4-year-long conflict as of now. Thank you very much, Amritpal Singh, for reporting on the story. Supporters of Yemen's main southern separatist group, the Southern Transitional Council, rallied in the southern port city of Aden to demand secession from the north. Protesters in southern Yemen's port city of Aden called for independence from northern authorities. The Southern Transitional Council, which controls much of the south, has been ordered to withdraw from Hadramaut and Mahara provinces. Saudi Arabia also urged the UAE-backed group to pull back its forces after seizing key areas and government offices. Meanwhile, Aden airport was closed, disrupting flights despite limited arrivals earlier in the day. The move highlights growing tensions in a country already divided by years of civil war. Saudi Arabia's ambassador to Yemen said on Friday that Aidarus al-Zubaydi, the leader of Yemen's UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council, refused landing permission the previous day for a plane carrying a Saudi delegation to Aden. Zubaydi issued directives to close air traffic at Aden airport, the ambassador Mohammed al-Jaber added in a post on X. Flights were halted on Thursday at Yemen's Aden International Airport, the main international gateway for regions of the country outside Houthi control. The Saudi-backed governor of Yemen's Hadramaut province, in a related development, said on Friday that he would launch a peaceful operation to take back military positions from the STC and said that the actions, however, were not a declaration of war. The move marks the latest escalation in the war-torn Yemen, where a rift between Gulf powers Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates has been playing out since December. Yemen's Saudi-backed government said on Friday that it had appointed Hadramaut Governor Salim Ahmed Saeed al-Khunbashi to take overall command of the Homeland Shield forces in the eastern province, granting him full military, security and administrative authority in what it said was a move to restore security and order. Around 40 people were killed and over 100 injured when a fire ripped through a crowded bar during a New Year's Eve party in the upscale Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. Swiss President Guy Parmelin described the deadly fire as one of the worst tragedies the country has seen. Speaking after the incident, the Swiss president said authorities are investigating the exact circumstances of what happened. He added that flags will be flown at half-mast for 5 days, stressing that a tragedy of such scale must not happen again.
The fire that occurred last night in a bar in Crans-Montana is one of the worst tragedies our country has ever known. Many lives, mostly young people, have been lost. Around 100 people were injured, many seriously. And behind these numbers are faces, names, families, destinies brutally cut short or forever shattered.
The fire broke out at around 1:30 local time during New Year celebrations. Authorities said they launched an investigation into the fire. The authorities said they were racing to identify the victims but warned the process could take several days, even weeks. Meanwhile, local people gathered to pay tribute to the victims at a vigil at Montana Station Church on Thursday evening, and floral tributes were laid near the scene of the fire. Crans-Montana is a luxury ski resort famous in the 1980s for hosting the World Cup skiing. Authorities are investigating the fire that killed several people and injured over 100 at a crowded bar in the Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. Let's now take a look at the report to know how the events unfolded.
Dozens of people are feared dead and more than 100 injured after a devastating fire tore through a crowded bar during a New Year's Eve party in the Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. The blaze broke out post-midnight at a bar called Lee Constellation, a popular spot among locals and young visitors. Authorities say the cause remains unclear. Investigators are examining safety failures and have launched a full-scale inquiry. According to a witness, the fire may have started in the bar's basement when birthday candles on a bottle came too close to the wooden ceiling. Swiss authorities deployed 10 helicopters and 40 ambulances to assist the victims, transporting the seriously injured to hospitals. Eyewitnesses described scenes of panic as flames spread quickly through the bar.
We were yelling fire, fire, and then we thought it was a joke and that it was not necessarily serious. And then suddenly a huge cloud of black smoke. We could not breathe anymore. And then maybe we had to get out, and everyone got out. But a crowd gathered, so we could not get out, so we tried to hide.
Switzerland is already calling it as one of its worst tragedies.
The fire that occurred last night in a bar in Crans-Montana is one of the worst tragedies our country has ever known. Many lives, mostly young people, have been lost. Around 100 people were injured, many seriously. And behind these numbers are faces, names, families, destinies brutally cut short or forever shattered.
Hundreds lined up to pay respects outside the bar. Forensic teams working behind cordons are trying to identify the dead using dental and DNA records. Authorities warn the process will take days due to the severity of the burns. Victims include citizens from several countries. Italy, France have confirmed that their nationals are missing after the mishap. What was meant to be a night of celebration turned into one of Switzerland's deadliest modern tragedies. Crans-Montana, a resort known for skiing, golfing, and luxury tourism, now mourns dozens of victims, many of them young. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he's open to cooperation with Washington. A Hindu businessman brutally attacked, set on fire in Bangladesh, raising minority safety concerns.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Thursday said he was open to cooperation with Washington after weeks of American military pressure. In an interview on state TV, Maduro said he's open for dialogues wherever and whenever US wants. Till date, Maduro has not confirmed a US land attack on a docking facility in his country that allegedly targeted drug boats, according to US President Donald Trump's comments on Monday. The attack would amount to the first known land strike of the US military campaign against drug trafficking from Latin America. Trump on Monday said that the United States hit and destroyed a docking area for alleged Venezuelan drug boats. Trump would not say if it was a military or CIA operation or where the strike occurred, noting only that it was along the shore. The Venezuelan government has released 88 more detainees who were held after protests following the July 2024 Venezuelan election. This comes after the release of 99 individuals on December 26th, bringing the total number of freed prisoners to 187, marking the second mass release in 2 weeks. The government described these actions as part of a comprehensive review process of cases ordered by President Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan government stated that it does not hold political prisoners, but rather imprisoned politicians, claiming that those arrested were seeking to destabilize the country. Several NGOs estimate that around 900 people still remain detained, including those arrested before the election. A massive fire engulfed a historic church in Amsterdam in the early hours of New Year's Day on Thursday. The blaze tore through the 19th century Wandelkerk, destroying large sections of the neo-Gothic building and causing its iconic spire to collapse. The fire broke out shortly after midnight near the city's central Wandelpark, reducing much of the landmark built in 1872 to ruins. Authorities said that the cause of the fire remains under investigation. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was discharged from the hospital on Thursday after undergoing medical procedures to treat a hernia and hiccup. The former president has been sent back to the Federal Police Superintendency in Brasilia, where he is serving a 27-year sentence for plotting a coup after losing the 2022 presidential election. Bolsonaro was admitted to the hospital last week for surgical procedures, following a request from his lawyers. Earlier, Brazil's Supreme Court justice rejected a request from his lawyers seeking permission for the former president to serve his sentence under what they called humanitarian house arrest. Nigeria launched a new tax regime. Officials said it will expand the tax base, ease the tax burden on low-income earners and small businesses, and streamline collection and administration. The new system, based on 4 bills signed into law in June, came into effect despite calls for a delay by the opposition, which alleged that the government had made unauthorized changes to the tax code. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu backed the tax reforms, dismissed the opposition claims, and said that the new tax regime is in Nigeria's best interest. This is a significant step towards building a simpler, fairer, and more growth-oriented tax system in Nigeria. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung will focus on China's efforts towards peace in the Korean peninsula during a state visit next week that aims to restore ties, presidential advisor Wee Sung-lok said on Friday. The Lee administration said it aims to restore ties with Beijing, acknowledging China as South Korea's largest trading partner. South Korea is trying to maintain balance but leaning towards cooperation with China to avoid being forced into any troubles that would threaten the Asian industrial powerhouse. Lee said in December that he would not take sides in the diplomatic dispute between China and Japan. In Bangladesh, a Hindu businessman was brutally attacked, stabbed, and set on fire in Shariatpur district, raising fresh concerns over violence against minority communities in the country. The incident took place on Wednesday. 50-year-old Kokon Chandra Das was returning home in an auto rickshaw when he was stopped by a group of assailants. The attackers assaulted him with sharp weapons, robbed him of cash, poured a flammable liquid on him, and set him on fire. Injured, the victim jumped into a nearby pond to save himself. Local residents rescued him and took him to hospital before he was referred to a hospital in Dhaka due to the critical injuries. The incident follows reports of other recent violent attacks involving members of the minority community, raising concerns among rights groups, local and international observers. On to weather updates now. A storm swept through Southern California on Tuesday, prompting flood warnings for millions of residents. The storm also left over 3,000 Los Angeles customers without power. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power reported localized outages in Sherman Oaks, Vermont, Slauson, and Los Feliz, but said that its overall system remained stable. Authorities warned of debris flows and flash flooding as rain continued across Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura counties. Landmarks in Syracuse, located in central New York State, were blanketed in white on Thursday after a storm dumped heavy lake-effect snow. The National Weather Service predicted lake-effect snow through Saturday for areas located downwind of lakes Erie and Ontario. It warned that travel in and around Onondaga County could be dangerous and challenging, urging motorists to carry extra food and water in case of emergencies. The agency also noted that this type of snowfall is common in parts of New York during winter, occurring when cold air moves over the still unfrozen Great Lakes, creating clouds that quickly generate snow. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Japan's Emperor Naruhito on Friday delivered his New Year's address from the Imperial Palace in Tokyo, wishing the nation a peaceful and good year ahead. He noted that the past year was marked by hardships, including disasters caused by earthquakes, heavy rains, forest fires, and heavy snow. School children in North Korea's Pyongyang rang in New Year 2026 with a vibrant performance. The show featured singing, dancing, violin, and traditional music, while an audience of senior officials, soldiers, and children applauded. Performers also waved flags and greeted the crowd with Happy New Year wishes. SpaceX is moving its Starlink satellites closer to Earth to reduce collision risks. The company said that all Starlink satellites currently orbiting around 550 kilometers will be lowered to roughly 480 kilometers next year. Michael Nicol, SpaceX's VP of Starlink Engineering, said that the move puts the satellites in a less crowded zone, making space travel safer. Boston residents welcomed the new year with a polar plunge into the icy waters of Boston Harbor. Dozens of swimmers, some in costumes, jumped into 40-degree water, continuing a tradition more than 100 years old. The annual event draws crowds despite freezing temperatures. Despite temperatures dropping for a chilly New Year's Day, people across Europe participated in New Year's Day's dips to welcome 2026. The event, held on Thursday, marked the start of the new year with a plunge into icy cold water despite spine-chilling cold. And still to come on DD India News Hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted India's deep-rooted belief system in an event at IIT Madras. And Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate exhibition of Piprava Buddha relics on 3rd of January.
From monsoons to winters, seasons have now become unpredictable. So today, let's meet people who, despite the challenges of change, are working towards a better future.
I started working in waste management and focused on reducing polythene use to protect the environment.
Within 6 months, all the other plants turned into manure, but this one plant was still blooming. So that was a big motivation for me to start Only Adenium.
If we can continue this initiative, we hope by 2050 to see a green belt along the entire coastline.
When you're surrounded by asphalt, concrete, glass, and these run-of-the-mill buildings that are becoming more and more alike, then of course people will want to create a more natural, more livable niche here and there.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage, and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A look at the headlines of this hour. Russia and Ukraine trade allegations of civilian attacks on New Year's Day. Moscow gives proof of alleged Ukrainian strike on Putin's residence to the United States. CIA debunks the Russian claim. India's first bullet train to be launched on August 15, 2027 between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav announces. Clashes between protesters and security forces in Iran leave several people dead amid protests over high inflation and cost of living struggles. Trump warns that it will rescue protesters if needed. And Swiss president termed the New Year's Eve fire at a ski resort among the country's worst tragedies, where at least 40 people have been killed and over 100 injured. The flags will fly at half-mast for 5 days. Maharashtra has achieved a major milestone in the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project. The state's first mountain tunnel has successfully achieved a breakthrough in Palghar district, marking the completion of the excavation work for the tunnel. A report.
The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project achieved a historic breakthrough in Palghar district of Maharashtra, marking a significant step forward in India's first high-speed rail corridor. Maharashtra's first mountain tunnel has successfully achieved its breakthrough in the rugged Sahyadri mountain range. The tunnel is nearly 1.48 kilometers long and is located between the under construction Virar and Boisar bullet train stations. The tunnel has an overhead mountain cover of about 170 meters, making it one of the most challenging sections of the project. Excavation work was carried out simultaneously from both ends of the tunnel to speed up construction. After around 18 months of continuous work, engineers achieved the breakthrough, completing a crucial phase of tunneling.
Right now, I'm at the Palghar district, and you can see just behind me one of the important tunnel breakthrough. This is Maharashtra's first mountain tunnel, which has successfully achieved breakthrough for the bullet train project in Maharashtra, and one of the longest mountain tunnel for the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project here.
The tunnel has been constructed using the new Austrian tunneling method. It's an advanced technique that allows real-time monitoring of geological conditions. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train corridor includes 8 mountain tunnels. Out of these, 7 are located in Palghar district of Maharashtra, while 1 is in Gujarat's Valsad district. Construction work on the remaining tunnels is currently underway. Project authorities have stated that all safety norms are being strictly followed during the operations. The successful breakthrough in Palghar is expected to accelerate work on other sections of the bullet train project. India's Railway Minister Ashnavi Vaishnav believes that the bullet train project has introduced a new way of working, setting higher benchmarks for quality and technology in India's infrastructure sector.
भारत में ये टेक्नोलॉजी प्रॉपर जब अपने यहाँ एब्जॉर्ब हो गई, कंप्लीट इसका मोल्ड, इसको किस तरह से मशीनें, जो ये ऊपर ये आप देख रहे हो मशीन, ये मशीनें, इसको लिफ्ट करने वाली मशीनें, इसको मूव करने वाली मशीनें, ये सारी की सारी मशीनें भारत में डिज़ाइन हुई और भारत में ही बनी। टेक्नोलॉजी शुरू में समझने के लिए हमें बाहर जाना पड़ा, लेकिन उसके तुरंत बाद में सभी मशीनें, सभी डिज़ाइन भारत में हुई। और अब जापान की जो टीम है, उनका कहना है कि अगली बार जापान में जो प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे, वो ये टेक्नोलॉजी अब जापान भी लेके जाएंगे।
He also added that the project reflects India's growing technological self-reliance, with complex machines and designs now being developed indigenously.
तो प्रधानमंत्री जी का हमेशा एक बड़ा इसमें गाइडेंस ये था कि हमें नए काम करने का नया तरीका इससे सीखना है और क्वालिटी और टेक्नोलॉजी का एक नया पैरामीटर सेट करना है, एक नया पैमाना सेट करना है। इस प्रोजेक्ट की ये बहुत बड़ा एक फैक्टर है।
India's first high-speed rail project aims to significantly reduce travel time between Mumbai and Ahmedabad and improve connectivity, economic growth, and infrastructure development in the region.
Going forward, we may see that the bullet train will soon see the day of light and will complete its project. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad people will definitely get a chance to ride the bullet train in a very short span time in the near future. Shri Shila for Today India, Mumbai.
All right, let's now connect with Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, senior economic journalist on the show. Hi, Shubhamoy. The 1.5 kilometer long mountain tunnel in Palghar district, part of the bullet train project, is being hailed as the second tunnel breakthrough in Maharashtra. Can you explain us why it is being hailed as a tunnel breakthrough?
Well, part of the reason for the bullet train, when we say it's going to be a very fast connectivity between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, is that it takes the shortest possible route. Now, as you would know, that the Palghar section where this tunnel has been created is one of the oldest mountains, and it's a difficult thing to create. It's a very short time period in which it has been created, and also the fact that it's being used to run a bullet train which will have an enormous speed. So the amount of what I should call the sound barrier related and vibrational effect in such a cloistered space is a very difficult engineering objective to have been able to do. For instance, if I take the example of Japan's bullet train, one of the major things that the design modification that happened in Japan in the bullet trains in the early stages was because there was a shock that every time a train ran through a tunnel, there would be a sonic boom across the area. Now, all of that is going to be there for the bullet train, and it's could have been there for the bullet train, and the fact that it's not will be due to the success of the tunnel project. So it is very significant in terms of what it is doing and in terms of ensuring that we get the project near to completion, as the minister is promising.
Okay, what will the successful completion of the tunnels being built for the bullet train mean for such tunnel construction in future projects of similar nature? Also, will there be transfer of technology from Japan to India for tunnel construction?
I won't get into the transfer of technology business, but let's look at it this way. We had another very, very difficult engineering project, which was the Chenab Railway, where Indian railway engineers managed a very difficult feat of crossing the Chenab in Kashmir. Now, that has been achieved by India and has led to the successful launch of the train operations between the valley and Jammu and the rest of India. It's a very powerful achievement. So I'm sure that with this sort of achievement that we've now been able to demonstrate, we will be able to use the similar sort of technology in lots of other projects. India is a country with varied regions, varied topography. Already, as you would have seen, between Mizoram and the rest of India, a very fantastic railway line has just been commissioned, and through very difficult terrain. Now, all of that requires a lot of tunneling work. In fact, tunneling work is also a very strong feature of the Kashmir, of the Srinagar to Jammu, the Kashmir lane that has been, the train link that has been created. It goes through enormous number of tunnels. So we are really getting very, very good at it. And it's a very promising sign that this one is also being built. And I'm sure what is happening is essentially suffusion of the tunnel technology across these projects. Yeah.
Okay, the bullet train project, when completed, is expected to bring significant economic benefits and boost regional development. Could you shed some light on these benefits?
One of the things that could happen is that, a bullet train is not a fancy project. It is something which is very important in terms of the speed advantage that we are doing. It's just not, it's not two random places between which the train link is being constructed. One of the places that it is planning to link is the gift city. Now, the gift city and Mumbai. Mumbai is India's financial capital. The gift city is the place where most of our new innovations in financial systems is happening. So it's important that people are able to travel between these two nodes very fast in real quick time to be able to handle all sorts of assignments. And that is, in fact, the principal trigger for why this project has become so important, to connect to India's two financial nodes. So obviously, the impact on the economy, you can see, is going to be massive. People, for instance, can travel between, when they can travel so easily between Delhi, between Mumbai and Gift City, then they'll be able to take comfortable decisions on where they stay, where they, how they operate between these two centers and maximize opportunities. Those are enormous possibilities that are opening up. So we definitely look forward to this project as a very key enabler of India's development planning and development policies. Yeah.
Okay, so as the gains from the bullet train are seen after its completion in 2027, can we expect to see further such projects being launched in the country?
I think we've already planned more bullet trains between quite a few other nodes, like Chennai, Bangalore, and others in the days ahead. So there are those projects that are coming up. Even otherwise, the very fact that on the same sort of track that is there between Bombay and Mumbai and Ahmedabad, we are going to see this bullet train happening, will allow for that same technology to be used in lots of other places with much more ease of, we have already got the Vande Bharat trains running at potential speeds of 180 kilometers per hour. In fact, the minister just recently demonstrated that the sleeper class enabled Vande Bharat can achieve speeds of up to 180 kilometers per hour without any vibration. Now, those are significant enablers that is already happening in terms of the high-speed corridors that is coming up and making railway travel quite different from what it had been for decades. Yeah.
Okay, Shubhamoy, Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that possibly tongue-in-cheek or not, that travellers can buy a ticket now for the bullet train. A good idea, you think?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like initially, I mean, this is, obviously lots of people would be using it just to get the sheer experience of what a fast train looks like. And in fact, India has been talking about this bullet train for a long time without having gotten into it. So the demonstrated capacity, the demonstration that the project will actually now see literally the light of the day by 2027 is a very significant thing for people to enjoy and hope for. Just as they have become very excited about, as I said, about the other marquee travel train projects that have already happened. Like, as I said, the one between Mizoram and Assam, the one between Jammu and Srinagar. You know, these are the projects which actually make people very interested, and again, rail travel has a lot of tourist interest, a lot of consumer interest in terms of, you know, varieties, seeing, I mean, they give a different feel altogether. So obviously people will be, I'm sure, will be lining up to get a taste of it in the very first days. Yes.
Yeah, so one could buy a bullet train ticket as on Independence Day in 2027. This is what is Ashwini Vaishnav's plan. Thank you very much, Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, for joining us on DD India News Hour. All right, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar inaugurated IITM Global Festival Fortnight at IIT Madras on Friday. Addressing the event, the minister said that India carries a strong sense of its past, having evolved from an ancient civilization into a modern nation state. He also highlighted India's deep-rooted belief system and noted that while Western-dominated world culture once overshadowed many traditions, diversity is now re-emerging.
I think it's non-Western, and it's important for us to explain to the West that, look, there was a period of distortion where the natural diversity of the world was suppressed, and that diversity is now returning. That diversity will coexist with the West. In many ways, it would actually reinforce a lot of things the West believes in. It was our decision to opt for a democratic political model, which actually made the very idea of democracy as a universal political concept.
The third tranche of approvals under the Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme events was held in New Delhi today. The government has approved 22 new projects under the Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme involving investments of over 41,800 crore rupees. The initiative aims to boost domestic supply chains, reduce imports and strengthen India's drive to become a global electronics manufacturing hub. Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav urged industries to focus on building sustainable units.
That will become one of the common facilities where government will invest. I'll request the industry to contribute in terms of making that a sustainable unit, which means capex we will do, but whatever OPEX is required, that should be borne by the industry. Two major buyer-seller meets, one in the north and one in south.
Electronics and Information Technology Minister of State Jitin Prasad emphasized that the next big destination for India is to establish the country as a leading electronic manufacturing hub.
Electronics manufacturing is playing a key role, and we are being seen as the next big destination as far as electronics manufacturing goes. And given that what's happening around the world, the geopolitical uncertainties, India is seen as that stable island amongst the disruptions that are happening around us. Stability of policies, there's continuity, whatever the government thinks it's long-term, and we, as the world is looking at de-risking from only banking on a particular or a one country kind of a process, India is turning out to be that other reliable partner.
Union Health Minister J.P. Nadda released the 10th edition of the Indian Pharmacopoeia at the Beam Hall, Dr. Ambedkar International Centre in New Delhi. The minister underscored India's advancement in drug safety with the global pharmacovigilance ranking improving from 123rd to 8th.
सेफ्टी, एफिकेसी, इन सब चीज़ों पर विशेष करके ध्यान देने का काम फार्माकोपिया कमीशन ने किया है और मैं ये कह सकता हूँ इस 17 साल की यात्रा में एक बहुत छोटी अवधि में एक बहुत लंबी यात्रा फार्माकोपिया कमीशन ने की है। इसके लिए मैं उनको बधाई देना चाहता हूँ। फार्माकोपिया को विजिलेंस जो हमारा था सिस्टम, उसकी ग्लोबल रैंकिंग 2009 to 2014 was 123rd, and today our ranking is 8th. We must continue with the hard work because we have to compete globally.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Grand National Exposition of Sacred Peparava relics related to Lord Buddha in New Delhi on Saturday. The exposition brings together for the first time the relics repatriated after more than a century with authentic relics and archaeological materials from Peparava that are preserved in the collections of the National Museum in New Delhi and the Indian Museum in Kolkata. The Peparava relics, discovered in 1898, hold a central place in the archaeological study of early Buddhism. These are among the earliest and most historically significant relic deposits directly connected to Lord Buddha. The exhibition underscores India's enduring civilizational links with Buddhist teachings and the government's efforts to preserve spiritual and cultural heritage. The repatriation was achieved through sustained government action, institutional cooperation, and public-private partnership. You're watching the India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. Hockey India confirmed on Friday the appointment of the Dutchman Soij Marijne as the chief coach of the Indian women's hockey team. Marijne returns to the role after leading India to an impressive show at the Tokyo Olympics, where the women's team finished in 4th place in only their second appearance at the quadrennial event in more than 36 years. Marijne's first big challenge as chief coach will be the FIH Hockey Women's World Cup qualifiers in Hyderabad, Telangana, from 8th of March to 14th of March 2026. Marijne will be assisted by Matthias Villa as the analytical coach. Villa is a former midfielder from Argentina who made his international debut in 1997 and competed in the 2000 Sydney Olympics and the 2004 Athens Olympics for Argentina. Australia's long-time opening batter Usman Khawaja on Friday called time on his international career by announcing his retirement. Usman Khawaja said he's still battling racial stereotypes. The left-handed batter confirmed the upcoming 5th and final Ashes test against England would be his final game in international cricket. The southpaw informed his teammates of his decision on Friday morning. The 39-year-old made his test debut at the same ground in the final match of the 2010-11 Ashes series and has since scored 6,206 runs at an average of 43.39 in 87 matches, including 16 centuries. The batter's future in Test cricket has been one of the hottest topics of this summer's Ashes series as he turned 39 last month. With Australia 3-1 up in the series headed into the final test, Khawaja confirmed that he would be calling time after the final Sydney Cricket Ground test. Gabon's government has suspended the national football team after a poor Africa Cup of Nations performance. Striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is banned and coach Thierry Mauyama has been sacked. Gabon Sports Minister Desire Mambula announced the action after Gabon lost 3-2 to Ivory Coast on December 31st. Gabon finished bottom of their group after earlier losses to Cameroon and Mozambique. Mambula described the team's performances as disgraceful. Aubameyang did not play the final group game after returning to Marseille for thigh injury treatment. English football clubs Liverpool and Leeds played out a goalless draw at Anfield to begin the year, marking the first scoreless match of Arne Slot's time in charge. The key moment came in the first half when Hugo Ekitike missed an open goal. Despite enjoying most of the possession, Liverpool struggled to create clear chances and rarely troubled Leeds goalkeeper Lucas Perry. The result stretched Liverpool's unbeaten run to 8 matches and moved them 3 points clear of 5th place Chelsea. The draw also extended Leeds' unbeaten run to 6 games and kept them 7 points clear of the relegation zone, having not lost since November. In English Premier League, Manchester City were held to a goalless draw by Sunderland at the Stadium of Light on Friday. City missed the chance to close the gap on league leaders Arsenal. They now trail Arsenal by 4 points. City began on the front foot and had an early goal ruled out. Bernardo Silva finished from close range, but he was caught offside. Erling Haaland later had the best chance of the first half. His effort from inside the box was saved by the Sunderland goalkeeper. In the second half, Manchester City increased the pressure with Jeremy Doku denied and Josko Gvardiol hitting the post, and the match ended goalless. With this, Sunderland earned a deserved point and kept their unbeaten home record. Wrestler Ritika Huda has been dropped from the Sports Ministry's Target Olympic Podium top scheme after failing a dope test, as the updated list of supported athletes was released. Huda, an Asian Championship medalist who competed in Paris, had been part of the top score group announced in February last year. At the same time, compound archers Parneet Kaur and Abhishek Verma were promoted to the core group, while decathlete Tejaswin Shankar was included in the developmental list based on recent performances. The revised tops directory reflects athletes' performances over the past year following the end of the 2024 Paris Olympic cycle. The latest update has slightly increased the number of core group athletes to 118, including 57 able-bodied and 61 para-athletes. And the 14th Ahmedabad International Flower Show 2026 has achieved a significant milestone on the global stage this year. Held under the theme Bharat Ek Gatha, the flower show has set 2 new Guinness World Records. The first record is for the world's largest flower mandala, while the second is for the world's largest flower portrait of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The flower show opened on Thursday and will run till January 22nd. Take a look. So that was the Ahmedabad International Flower Show for you. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can also download our DD India mobile app for news and updates from India and the world. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.